Hey Ouachita, thanks for tuning in to The Rundown. I'm Katie Vaughn, and with me today is Chelsea Byers, and this week we're bringing you a special episode.
We had students send in topics that they want to discuss, and from those we chose a few to talk about today. Let's shoot it to Jackson in our first roundtable as they discuss your questions.
Welcome to a special edition of the Roundtable. I'm Jackson Carter, and alongside me this week I have Brandon Smith, Chelsea Byers, and Ben Cline. And like Katie and Chelsea said, we're doing a student kind of question topic this week. And so the first question we're going to talk about is soccer. Here's the question.
Hey Rundown, how come soccer isn't as popular in the United States as it is in the rest of the world?
That was our first question. Ben and Brandon, you got 1 minute. Take it away.
All right, well, as we saw in the news, Manchester United won the English Premier League with Robin Van Persie scoring a hat trick in the first half. 3 goals in one half. 3 goals in a game is impressive. 3 goals in one half is just amazing. And then we also have the UEFA Champions League, which has just now started, which is kind of like the club teams all around Europe facing off in a tournament to see who's the best club team in all of Europe. And I just feel like these are the 2 biggest tournaments in all of sports, let alone soccer. And the whole world watches these tournaments, including the World Cup, also a big tournament in soccer, but America doesn't like it. Ben, what do you think is the problem with America, and why is it not popular here?
I think the biggest reason with the U.S. not really getting into soccer is just, quite frankly, the U.S. isn't very good. You know, if we look at the World Cup performance, 1930 was the highest finish by the United States, and that was a 3rd place finish. And then again, from 1950 to 1990, the U.S. didn't even qualify for the World Cup. And I think this really turned off a whole generation of Americans from the sport itself, and it's going to take a while for us to recover from that.
All right, there you go. Good job with that. Next question is going to be from...
So do you think college athletes should be paid?
Very interesting question. Chelsea and Ben, y'all got a minute.
Okay, so I think it's definitely okay to pay players. I mean, they have to do so much more than other students have to do. You know, they're doing their workouts twice a day. You know, they wake up at 5 in the morning to work out, and then they go to school all day. And then they have to work out for 3 more hours, plus they have to study and all of that other stuff. And they just don't have time to have real jobs. And I think that maybe if schools could start paying them some sort of stipend, maybe like a work study, you know, maybe just $900 a year, or $900 a semester, excuse me, that would be able to provide these students with the funds they need, maybe for car repairs or gas or whatnot.
My biggest problem with that, Chelsea, is, yeah, I agree that, you know, they have put in so much work in all those students, but how is the NCAA going to regulate this payment? You know, we've got these big name schools. There's already so much under the table dealing going on with signing players, signing bonuses. Just this opening up of we can pay players now is going to just open the floodgates, I think, for corruption underneath the table. And who's going to say who gets paid? Let's say our starters. Do they get paid? And then what about walk-ons? They put in just as much time as the starters. Are they going to get paid either? I just don't think it can be regulated.
Both good points right there. All right, third question.
Do y'all think college football should have 4 major power conferences?
All right, that's question 3. This will be taken by myself and Chelsea. We've got a minute, and I'm going to start it. I don't think power conferences are a good thing because it's going to destroy the little schools. It's going to destroy the sports that aren't football. I'm going to take Kansas here. Not necessarily a little school, but they're not good at football. They're good at basketball, but they're not taken into consideration with any of this power conference stuff because they're not good at the sport that makes the most money. You look at, you know, mid-major conference teams that are in like kind of bigger, small conferences, and they're not going to be doing anything here. I think that's going to be detrimental to all the small schools in the country for this.
See, I completely disagree. I think this would be fantastic for the little schools, you know, getting into these bigger conferences. If we have maybe 4 mega conferences, and they're getting into these conferences and they're getting these student athletes going to their schools that are going to make their programs, their football programs, even better. Because, you know, everyone wants to be a part of the SEC. The SEC wins it every year. You have Florida and Alabama and all those teams that, of course, are going to win. But I feel like if you have 4 mega conferences, financially, you will have a better football system.
That's a good point, too. All right, last but not least, question 4.
Do y'all think the college football playoffs are a good idea?
All right, and question 4 is going to be taken by myself and Brandon. All right. I don't think the 4-team playoff thing is going to be as successful as everyone thinks it's going to be. You know, I think there's always been controversy in the BCS and everyone complains when their team isn't in it. But in reality, the BCS gets it right pretty much all the time. Like, there's always a straggler or two, but in reality, the best teams are going to play in that game. And even before the playoff system, before the BCS, the best team was always named national champion anyways. So I just think that the playoff system is just kind of overkill at this point.
See, I completely disagree with that. I think the college football playoff is an awesome thing. You have 4 teams now, if anyone doesn't know, and they're going to have the bowls just kind of rotate in and out in between the semifinal game. And the final will be against the 2 teams that win in the 4-team playoff. And I just think that's awesome for football. Like, you always have those teams like Oregon and teams in the other teams in the Pac-12 and the Big Ten that aren't SEC teams that don't get a shot at the national championship, and now they do. Everyone loves March Madness because you have an underdog story. Well, now we have an underdog story for football, not as much as March Madness, like 16 seeds winning, but you have like a 4 seed, like the 4th best team in the country that no one thought won the national championship, actually coming through and winning.
That's true. All right. Well, thanks for y'all's participation in this section of the roundtable. We're going to send it on out to the next one for the next 4 questions.
Hello and welcome to the second roundtable in today's student special. I'm Andrew McCraw, joined by Katie Vaughn, Tyler Davis, and Hunter Soper. Let's go ahead and send it out to that first video for us.
Should Tiger Woods have dropped out of the Masters?
And timer starts now.
Okay, well, everybody should have watched the Masters. If you didn't, that's pretty un-American. But aside from Adam Scott winning for the first time in Aussie has ever done that, Tiger Woods got deducted a 2-stroke penalty for having his ball not placed in the right drop spot. I believe that's what it's called. Something drop zone, drop spot, sounds pretty good. People wanted him to stop playing. They wanted him to retire from the tournament and just get out of there. But I think he did the right thing and, you know, stayed in there and did what he needed to do and finished the entire tournament. What do you think?
But don't you think he should have been disqualified completely? I think he should have backed out completely. Really? I think it's just the sanctity of the game, knowing what the Masters stands for, knowing the rules. So you don't think he should have backed out of it at all?
No. He made it pretty clear in one of his tweets. He said, with this morning, I assessed the 2-shot penalty, and I understand my penalty, and I take it as a man. And so I think, you know, he realized what he did wrong, and he just, you know, did his best to get back in the game, and unfortunately, it wasn't good enough.
And that is all the time we have for that one. Let's send it out to the next video.
How do you feel about the new rule in the NFL where running backs aren't allowed to lower their heads and run outside the tackle box?
All right, crown and helmet rule. Hunter, Katie, take it away. Timer starts now.
I honestly do not like that one bit. The NFL is starting to, you know, get more like a flag football league, from the defenseless receiver, from, you know, tackling the quarterback right by the ankles and stuff like that. And now this crown helmet rule, I really don't like it. Next thing you know, they're going to be taking off the pads and adding on flags. So.
I disagree. I don't think they're taking the testosterone out of the game or anything. They can still hit with their shoulder. They're just trying to prevent the players from using their helmet as a weapon. They're trying to prevent the concussions from happening. It's something to help the players, and I think the players are having a difficult time seeing that right now.
Well, I'd still have to disagree. I mean, they have the helmets there for a reason. They obviously use the helmets, their shoulder pads, and they try to get them as small as they can so they can have more range of motion and be a lot faster. But I honestly think it's, you know, the players know what they're getting themselves into. They've played that game for a long time, and they know the physical aspect of it, and it's their choice whether or not to wear mouthpieces or any, you know, gear in the legs. And so I think they, you know, have full responsibility and know what can happen. And I think that they do appreciate the contact of the sport.
Nope, time. Sorry about that, Katie. Let's send it out to our next question.
After the whole Rutgers situation with the coach being mean to the players and being physically abusive, do you think that coaches should be nicer or they should still continue being mean?
All right, that's a great question. Morality of coaching. Katie, since I cut you off, I'll let you start, and then you'll go with Tyler. Ready? And the timer starts now.
Okay, here's my thing. I'm not going to say morals aren't important, and I'm not going to say that players or that coaches should beat their players, but I think that there are other issues to be looked at. I don't think that a coach should coddle their players. I don't think that they need to be super sweet to them. I think they need to push them to do better.
I agree. I don't think players should be babied, but I believe that who you are as a person is a big part of who you'll be as a coach. And I think if we don't check those morals when we hire coaches, we're going to continue to have these problems. And I think there's a really big difference between motivating with discipline and motivating with fear. And I really think that's where we need to draw the line.
Well, I'm not sure about that because I think that a good coach could separate who they are in practice and who they are in real life. I can think of growing up, I have coaches who I hated the entire practice, but as soon as practice was over, I always respected them and I always wanted to play well for them. And I think that's the same as it is in the NFL.
And I can agree with that. I just think when we look at the Rutgers situation, I think we can't continue to allow that. We have to make changes.
And time. Good job, y'all. Send out to our fourth and final question.
In the NBA Western Conference playoffs, who's going to win? The Spurs or the Thunder?
All right, NBA playoffs, that's a great question. Last week we actually covered that. Let's get back into the West. All right, let's start with you, and the timer starts now.
Okay. Give me the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, obviously you have Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. That's the obvious. They can give you 25 to 30 points a night. But you also have Serge Ibaka and Kendrick Perkins, who are very athletic and will make things tough for Tim Duncan. And then a lot of people forget about Thabo Cephalosha, who's a fantastic defender. And then you have Kevin Martin off the bench, who can score with anybody. So I just think the Thunder have too much athleticism and scoring for the Spurs.
Okay, I'm going to cut you off right there, not because of the time, but really I think I'm going back to last week and saying that I think the loss of James Harden is really going to hurt them in the long run. Not against Houston right now. They're blowing through Houston right now. But the loss of him in the long run, I don't think they're going to be able to stay with the defensive style of the Spurs. I think Greg Popovich has done a great job with their young part of the roster and letting the old guys turn the sands of time right there and play very well.
Right. Speaking of the old guys, the Thunder are very athletic. Do you really think that the Spurs' legs can hold up? And Manu Ginobili's been injured lately. Do you think they can hold up against that athleticism?
I would answer that, but our time is out. I'm sorry. Guess you'll have to just read my mind there. That's all we have time for today. We'll send it back out to Katie and Chelsea to end the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us today on The Rundown. We'll see you next week for our senior special. For Katie Vaughn, this is Chelsea Byers. That's all, folks.
Know what can happen, and I think that they do appreciate the contact of the sport.
Nope, time. Sorry about that, Katie. Let's send it out to our next question.
I had a good point.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's the clock, not me. I'm sorry.
My heart's like, whoa.
No, you'll get another chance right now because it's.